Hello, 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 y'all. I am fortunate enough to be here today with Maria. Who are you and what the heck are you doing here?
Hi, hello, my name is Maria. I'm a PhD student of Universidade Nova de Lisboa, of ITQB, and I organized the last TEDx Nova event. So I'm here because I'm an organizer of a TEDx event with a university license that I think that is a completely different thing.
Cool. This was your first TEDx event that you organized, right?
Yes, and my first event, like organizing.
So right now we're recording this in, May 2nd of 2024. When did you host your actual TEDx event?
On September 28th.
Of 2023.
In the last September.
Okay, cool. So for you, what does your future with TEDx look like? After doing once, you kind of worked out the kinks. Do you want to do it again? Or do you want to, oh my gosh, this is not for me, doesn't pay anything, way too much stress? I've heard two different perspectives from different TEDx organizers so far.
So organizing events is quite my guilty pleasure, so I really enjoy it. And in the end, I really enjoy all the stress and everything. And I think in the end, everything went well. But for now, like my idea in TEDx is to recruit the next team for TEDx Nova and help them in everything they need. And maybe in the future, repeat this experiment again, like with another license in a biggest event, TEDx from my city or something like that. Because I really enjoy to organize this event. For me, it was my first big event. I'm used to organize small things like in college, even in ITQB, like open days, and try to help organizing. But it was my first time leading a team and try to get the project a really event in one day. And I think it was amazing in the end. It's a feeling that I really enjoy it. And like this year, I'm organizing the PhD meeting with all of my students. It's another one that we need to also find sponsors and this kind of thing. So like someday I will try to organize again. But for now, my next step in TEDx will be just helping the others organizing and also have this experience because this is amazing. And in the end, the feeling of accomplishment is outstanding.
Okay, I'm going to unpack that because this is more of a personal question. What did you learn from organizing a TEDx event that you didn't learn from getting a PhD?
So in the beginning, I was running away from sponsorship. I didn't want to do it because in my mind was quite difficult. Like TEDx has some rules, like the sponsors cannot be on stage, the sponsors cannot be any implication on the speaker's selection and this kind of thing. So for me, it was quite difficult to sell something that in my mind, in Portugal, TEDx is not a big culture yet, but I hope that will be someday. It was quite difficult for me to try to sell it. There will be with some students in small university, in a small campus, with only one person attending. So in my mind was quite difficult. It was like a completely change of mindset to say, no, this is a big deal. When their logo goes to the YouTube channel will be a big deal. And this kind of mindset and trying to change it was a completely difference for me. Now, as I'm organizing the PhD meeting, is much more easy to negotiate the sponsorship with that. Like during my PhD, if I didn't have TEDx, I will have other events and maybe I will learn these kind of things. It's much more easy when you have things to sell, like the people can be on stage or can be a speaker or something like that. But in TEDx, and I agree with the rules in order to not be just a selling stage. But in the other end, like you are asking a lot of money just to be like one logo in a YouTube channel. This really was a completely mind changing for me to, okay, no, this is a big deal because there is a lot of subscribers. This is how internet works. This is really important for that brand. But yeah, I learned a lot in these kind of things. And then I also try to speak internally with all the faculties, the city council and these kind of things to sell the event and show them that is important for them. And this also was really important for me because for sure that in my PhD, I would add some of these opportunities during the 4 years of my PhD, however, not so intensely. That in TEDx was really intense. All these conversations and all these arrangements and all the sponsorship that you really need to get everything that you want in your event. And for example, dealing with the taxes was a nightmare for me. I completely forget about them. And then in the end, I was missing a lot of money because most of them go to taxes. In that point was really important.
And what do you see happening in the future with TEDx in Portugal? Like you were saying, has more brand equity, has a stronger brand in the US, in the UK, in Australia. What future do you see with Portugal and TEDx?
Yeah, I think now it's like growing. We already have TEDx Lisboa, TEDx Porto, TEDx Aveiro. So we have in some cities, and people are starting to attend and go for it because that is the deal. And now we are starting to get in some universities that will create like the culture in much more younger people, and then try to evolve and try to get that culture in the students and in the citizens. So in my opinion, I think TEDx is growing and now people are learning what it is. It's not a new thing in Portugal, but it's not cultural. So it's not a thing that people start going and pay a ticket to go. However, I think that it will be growing, this culture, I think.
And for when you organized your first TEDx event last September, how did you go about finding your speakers, curating them, and prepping them for the actual event?
So we were divided in some teams. So a team of speakers, a team of sponsors, team of the event, team of marketing, and one for all the IT systems. And I completely give the freedom for the speakers team to decide. So I just like in the beginning, I just had the idea to have the speaker contest, and I go for it because I think it will be really important for the students because they will not have this opportunity in other TEDx events in the next years, I think. So if this is a TEDx novel, if this is for students, I think we also have to have these stories and these ideas to spread by students. So that was my only thing that, okay, I really want a contest to select one student to be in our stage. And the other thing that in the speakers team, we had a person from different areas in order to try just science or just social science or just business. So we tried to get in different areas of the unit of Universidade Nova. Because in the first TEDx Nova event organized in Nova SBE, most of the students were from Nova SBE because they have more this kind of culture. So my idea and our idea for 2023 edition was to create an event more for all the students of Nova, and that was accomplished for sure. Like we had one representative of each faculty, even on the team or attending or even speaking. So it was quite nice for us because the idea is also to create a TEDx community in Universidade Nova de Lisboa, and that was accomplished for sure.
And when kind of before we hit the record button here, we were chatting a little bit. And I remember I asked you, and were you only letting the Nova or your university students be the speakers, or were you open to people coming from other places? And you started mentioning, no, we had someone from England, someone from Spain. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So we had several speakers. So 2 students of Nova, one Portuguese philosopher, Stephen Gouveia, then Stephanie Reina from Spain. In fact, she contacted me by LinkedIn and we discussed between us, and we realized that what she wanted to say was in the same line than our team. So we wanted to have her as well. Then we had 3 people from England. So Lu Fang Wang, that is Chinese, and speak about the solar panels in waves to get energy to remote island in Indonesia in a science part, biotech engineering area. Then we also had Queen Wills that spoke about genetic modification in liver in order to help in liver transplants. Is also from England. And exactly, the Yannick that is a producer. So with that, we wanted to bring a little bit of art even to our TEDx event that spoke about following his dream and how he pursued his career during the years, even sometimes thinking that everybody is working and he was trying to get his career solo. So it was quite difficult, and it's not a contract, it's not a work from 9 to 5. So this quite different view that I think is also important for students. And then one of the professors of Nova that spoke about the new cultures of work, like communities, self-employee, and these kind of things related with AI. So it's quite interesting as well.
Interesting. You mentioned the woman from Spain there. She just reached out to you through LinkedIn. You guys kind of built a relationship through LinkedIn. Did she travel from Spain to Portugal? Obviously, you're sharing a border, but was that her trip she made?
Yeah, in the beginning, so what we tried to afford was all the expenses of transportation of the speakers. So in the beginning, I just wanted to have like the speakers and with all the themes as well, woman and man. So all this kind of distribution that we should have. So I managed to get all the transport and the accommodation for speakers. For us, for example, it will be almost impossible to bring someone from US, for example, because only the trip is really, really expensive. So we also look for it, but in the end, we don't have money if you want to have other things for the attendees. The other thing that I don't know if it is common or not, but I try to guarantee like it was lunch for all the attendees as well, like with the coffee breaks and everything. So in the end, we had money for everything. Try to have cheap tickets for students. Like I think the most expensive one was like 22, 23 euros. I don't have in my mind, but something like that was like the last tickets, because in the beginning was like 15 euros. And then my first thing that I wanted always to guarantee was a dinner for all the team, because I thought that was really important in the end to commemorate with the speakers, and we go out and have a dinner all together, speaking with the speakers. Our own moment was really, really amazing for all the team.
That's interesting. You said no speakers from the US because of the travel. I talked to another organizer of a TEDx event in North Portugal. I think it was Aveiro or somewhere near there. His name was Nuno, and maybe you guys know each other, maybe you don't. But it'd be cool if there was a mastermind of all the Portugal
I also thought about it.
Maybe we'll work on something like that together. Who knows? But he said the same thing of, from someone from Australia that I really wanted him, but I couldn't pay. And I asked him a question. I said, so what you're telling me, Nuno, is if the speaker would pay and cover the entire travel to the event and the stay all themselves, you'd be okay with them being there? He said, yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I'd love that. So kind of leveraging the international brand equity of TEDx from other places to so much so to even get them to cover the travel to the event. Would you be open to something like that at your future events for your students? Because I know a lot of people listening here in the US or in England or in Australia. Let's say you accept me as a speaker, hypothetically, for next year. And you say, well, Ryan, sorry, you got a cool idea, but we just can't cover travel. I say, okay, cool, no problem. I'll pay for it.
Yeah, that will be completely nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Because like we had some conversation with Portuguese that is on States, and we asked like, okay, if you are in Portugal in that moment, like we can cover the accommodation because the hotel it was covered for all the speakers, so we are already counting on that. So the idea is you are not paying to go because I like you are paying because you are paying the travel, but you're not paying me to be there. So there is
of course
no influence on this. So we had some conversation like, okay, we wanted to have you, but for now we don't have money for that. So if you will have money, you can come, and then in the end we can have one speaker and on the website. It will not be a big deal. If not, we just have like the ones that we have here, because in some point we just close all the transition of money in the end. We get some sponsors like in the week of the event that save us a lot of money, but we are not expecting of that. So in the end, I could get some money for next edition. That is really important. However, like we just figured it out in the last week. In that moment, we cannot bring no one from other place in Europe. Even in Europe, like that depends. Some trips are really expensive, and it's not just to go like in the internet and find a cheap flight. It doesn't work like this, because then we don't have an invoice correctly. So then you cannot have all your budgets correctly and request for money. If you are working with the university line, that was my case. So I didn't want to put myself or my name, because even for sponsor, it's quite difficult, because they're like, okay, I'm transferring the money for one person. In some point, they cannot do that. So I used the university line. So they created a a financial line for me to do all these transitions. However, like I cannot just buy a flight in the internet. That will be much more cheaper. I need to go into a flight agency and ask them for the invoice to do all the legal
Wow.
and bureaucracy. That will take more money because it's a different,
Right.
like you need to pay the agency to do that. So it's not so easy and was completely difficult for me. However, I know there are some associations, like we have Luso American for development,
Okay.
that we can ask for some fellowships to bring American citizens to speak in Portugal.
Really interesting.
Really.
I also talked to Nuno about. Curious to hear what you think. It was also his first year organizing a TEDx event. And I was searching Google, just typing "are TEDx talks" and then kind of letting the autofill come in. And then, when you search something and then you scroll down, it says people also ask, and then has other questions that are there. One of the questions was, are TEDx talks still credible? And I thought, how would I answer this question? I would answer it with some of them, if they've been organized many times, many years, the organizer knows what they're doing and they really got that system down, the team down. So I want to ask you, it was your first year organizing one. How did you kind of figure everything out? Were you able to get all of the TEDx talks uploaded and on the YouTube channel, and were all the speakers happy? And because that might change the answer that I would have for that question as well.
So I think like TEDx try to have everything ruled. So in order to have these strict rules, you also have some guarantee that everything is on the right mindset. However, it's true there are a lot of TEDx talks coming out every day, and some of them can be lost in the YouTube channel, or just like not get out in specific moments that in the end will interfere completely in the engagement. But in the other point, since I know all the rules that we are going for, and I had some with most scientific one, I needed to deliver a document with all the reference of the speaker to guarantee that that science is real. And even though the science is for that scientist, so it's come from that science, so in some point his ideas are his ideas, but they ask me all the reference to make sure that that science is real, that is published. So in that point, I'm sure that all the TEDx talks are real, because I believe in TEDx that they will deny the ones that don't follow the rules, or they are just selling something, or this kind of thing. So in that point, I don't know if all the TEDx leader organizers follow these rules, but I hope that in the crew of TEDx, the ones that are not following the rules will be denied in order to keep the credibility.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think it's one of the worst feelings when it hasn't happened to me yet, but I can just imagine going all the way, delivering a TEDx talk, and then your organizer calls you up and say, "Hey, we're sorry. TEDx isn't allowing it to be uploaded." It sucks probably even more as a TEDx organizer to be the one delivering the message than being the person hearing it, right? Just because, they put in all that work. You were the one that picked them out of the crowd to come deliver the talk and all that kind of stuff. So what do you think are some questions that people in Portugal were thinking about regarding TED? The same way that I typed our TEDx talks and then let it autofill, what do you think Portugal would autofill that kind of question with? You're much more on the pulse of the Portuguese cultura, so that's why I ask you.
I really don't know what people search. Maybe like, what is TEDx? What is the difference between TEDx and TED? These kind of things. Because at least in my experience, I needed to say it a lot of times. And for me, the most difficult part was, for example, in the publication of the speakers or of the sponsors. And I said, this is not a TED, this is a TEDx. Please correct in your posts, because I know the difference, and I know there is a difference. And in some point, they can be criticized to start saying that they are delivering a TED talk, and then someone said it's not a TED talk, it's a TEDx talk. For most of the people, the difference between TEDx and a TED is just an X that is small detail there. And for us, we know, and we try to follow the rules, we really understand that it's different, and you cannot say one thing that it's not true. And also because only Stephanie from Spain was the only one that sent me an email or a message through LinkedIn, and we really go for it, because all the other requests that I received were most of them for people that was trying to sell some companies or trying to sell some, they don't say it in the first, but we realized from the message or from the text in the email that like most what they are selling is their company or their book or their image. I don't know. So most of our speakers, they know what is TEDx, but they know more or less. And now we wanted to really make sure that the difference of one event and the another, because maybe for people like TEDx is just an event done outside of America or something like that.
Right. I was talking to a guy named Frank King, who's the world record holder for most amount of TEDx talks. He's given 12. And now he's got a business helping people land TEDx talks. And I kind of asked him the same question. And we were talking about the difference between TED Talks and TEDx Talks, and how, like you said, the average person doesn't really know the difference. And that's what he was saying is TEDx Talks are, for those that know the industry, obviously not TED Talks. You got to be Elon Musk, Tony Robbins, a governor of a state to land a TED talk, and you have to be invited. That's where the beauty lies in it, is the majority of people think if you give a TEDx talk, you're on the same kind of stage as that level of speaker. And it's that ignorance in the perception that actually helps the TEDx speakers get that credibility from TED as a brand. When you got that question, when people asked, what is a TEDx talk? How did you answer them?
Yeah, so it's an independent organized TED event, so it's a TEDx, and that is local, organized for the community, by the community, and with the specific rules that needed to be followed. And be honest, I know what it is, but yeah, it was more or less what I used to say. The way to give other communities to have the opportunity to have this kind of talks. However, now there are already other kinds of this kind of talks. Nowadays in Portugal, we have other kind of talks that are quite the same. So it's a person like statically, if you don't know nothing about TEDx or this kind of event, it's the same, because it's a person in a stage speaking about one subject or one idea or one experience. So if they are the same, for sure that TED and TEDx that follows the same vision, like to spread ideas, will be completely mixed in that brain. So it's okay. We just needed to make sure that people understand that it's not a TED, it's a TEDx, because it was done for a community, by a community, and just to spread the ideas in that center. And for sure that everybody can see it. And some of the TEDx are really, in the end, they go and become really important, and with a lot of visualizations. And maybe in some point they can be even more interesting than some TED Talks.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, Maria, I got 2 more questions for you. Okay.
Sure.
Number 1, let's say I'm listening right now and I'm getting so much value from what you're saying, and I'm thinking, man, I just wish I could ask her this question. Where can I find you on the internet if I want to DM you a question or email you a question, something like that?
Okay, so I'm in LinkedIn with Maria Firmino, and I'm in Instagram with Medico Firmino. I can send you the links by my message if you want to publish. I will be available to answer all these questions, especially for people that are trying to do a university license when you need to be a student. And it's really one of the requisitions, I don't know if you know, but to do a university TEDx, you have to be a student. So in that moment, to fill in the license, you need to guarantee that until the end of the license will be a student in that university. So in some point, like, it's a really big challenge, because in that moment you are doing your master thesis or your graduation or your PhD thesis, but in the other end, it's a completely new experience that you need to, if you like, for sure. Because if you don't want, and you just want a line in your CV, please don't try.
Not worth it.
This is a really tough line on CV if you really care. So not just a line on CV, it's really a big thing that give a lot of work. And in the end, as you told in the beginning, no money. So like, this is an amazing experience if you want. And if you like these kind of things, and if you want to know more about this community and all the things you need to know to organize a big event. However, this is one more time. This is not just a line on the CV. This is more than that.
Yeah, it's good to know. And I think sharing the information that you've shared for college students out there that are thinking of potentially organizing a TEDx event, they now know, no, it's a lot of work you got to put in and you don't get paid anything for it.
Yeah.
Now, last question I have for you. What is the last message that you would want to leave with aspiring speakers, professional speakers, and entrepreneurs who speak to grow their business? If there's one thing that you want to tell those people, what is it?
My experience with this, I didn't focus so much in the speaker part. I was more in the organizing all the event, and I just like control a little bit, like everything is okay. They are speaking like you have the script, we have this step, we have this step, and these kind of things. However, in my case, what I felt more stressed about it was a lot of emails that we received just because you have in your LinkedIn that you are a TEDx organizer. And in some points you start like don't see anything.
Ignoring them.
So
right.
If you really want to speak in a TEDx stage, like be concise in your idea and just try to transmit, like don't send an entire CV, like we don't have time to read that for sure, or all the links of your website saying what you already did, because if you are looking for something similar, just a small sentence like I speak about this, I have a story in this, it will be enough, and I will be interested in your story or not. More than that, like I will not take the time to because like in the beginning I was answering everybody, and then like after that I was like, okay, I don't have time for this. Okay, just because you have a lot of other things to organize. However, for like in my experience with as a TEDx organizer in a university, the most beautiful thing that I could get, and I could have all the help, was to get involved with all the ITQB community. That is where I'm doing my PhD. And I really felt that I was embraced for all the community. And even like, for example, if I had some problem to answer to someone that like sent me an email or asking to be a speaker, or to try to answer one director or a person like that is important in our community, I could ask everybody like what I should say, where I can ask more money, where I can ask more support, should I ask this here? And so the most important thing for me was to have a good team working with me, but also have a good community at ITQB for sure, because they helped me with everything. And if you want to do university lessons, make sure that you have your university with you. This is really, really important.
Awesome. Well, I think that's good advice for that kind of people, because you're not the only TEDx organizer that I've spoken to that has talked about how once you get uploaded to the TEDx or TED.com/TEDx/events page, you just get spam with emails, LinkedIn messages, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's to be intentional with those.
In some point you stop, like maybe we lost some important thing.
Sure.
Because in the end we are like, if you are not so direct, you are just okay, this send me an entire CV, I don't care. And maybe you are losing a really interesting person that maybe we should wanted to have in your event. If you would send me like a big message with a lot of text, I will like ignore.
Right.
You were completely direct to me, so it was perfect. And I could see, because now I'm quite okay, because the event is over and now we are preparing all the teams for the next edition, and we are uploading the videos, they are coming out and everything, it's okay. But in the beginning it's really stressful, and you don't even have the team in your head and you already receive a lot of things.
I noticed that TEDx events that are, I know we're going extra here, but TEDx events, they're normally looking for speakers 6 to 8 months in advance. Do you guys have your theme decided yet? So if anybody's listening here when this gets uploaded months in the future?
Not yet. So I don't know, like I'm sure that the next edition will be like on 25. We will not have the team ready for 24. But I know that as soon as we have all the ideas, we will post in our website, our Instagram, and our LinkedIn for sure.
Awesome. Do you want to let the audience know what your TEDx Events Instagram is so they can go follow it, and if they're interested?
Now we are with a small problem. So our TEDx Nova account on Instagram was deleted.
Oh, wow.
by Instagram. They say that Instagram does not allow people to be a business or to pretend that is a business or something like that. And we couldn't have the opportunity to complain about it because we are not pretending that we are TEDx Nova. We are TEDx Nova.
Sure.
But now we have LinkedIn that is
Okay.
TEDx Nova, and you can contact when you want.
Awesome. If you're listening and you have a friend of yours that you think needs to hear this information that Maria has just shared with you, however niche specific it is, maybe you're a college student thinking about organizing a TEDx event, maybe you're a speaker or someone looking to give a TEDx event and your friend was telling you about it and they were about to just send their resume or your CV, like Maria was saying, to a TEDx organizer. Maybe you want to send them this podcast to be like, oh, slow down there. That might be the exact opposite of what you want to do to get closer to landing a TED Talk. Guys, cheers.
Thank you.